The Hunger Below.
Evan Whitlock never intended to become a part of Morwood's legend. He simply wanted a quiet place to work, a break from city noise, and maybe a set of photos that would get him a few thousand likes. But the forest did not care about his plans, because the Morwood was patient, and it had been hungry for a very, very long time. The road to Morwood twisted like a vein through the mountains, growing narrower and more broken the deeper Evan drove. His GPS lost signal an hour before he arrived at the Price cabin, but even without directions, he could sense the way, as though the forest itself guided him. Pines leaned over the road, branches interlocking like skeletal fingers overhead. The deeper he went, the darker the sky became, despite the early afternoon sun. Every so often, his headlights caught movement between the trees, too quick to identify, too tall to be human. But Evan, always rational, chalked it up to deer, or shadows, or nerves. He should have listened to the first instinct that whispered, "Turn back."
Harland Price's cabin was large, but ragged. The wood turned gray from decades of storms. Smoke drifted lazily from the chimney, though the air around the cabin was unnervingly still. Harland himself was a wiry man in his 60s, with sunken cheeks and pale eyes that never stopped moving. "You're late," Harland muttered, though Evan hadn't given an arrival time. He gestured Evan inside and locked the door immediately. "You lock the door while you're here," he warned. "Leave it open even a crack, and you won't see morning." Evan tried a polite laugh, but Harland wasn't joking. He noticed an old hunting rifle mounted above the fireplace, the barrel scratched, the stock dented, and the trigger worn smooth from use. Harland caught him staring. "That's not for hunting," Harland said. "It's for surviving." The first few days were uneventful. Evan hiked, photographed, and attempted to ignore the creeping dread settling into his stomach. But then there were the oddities. Shadows moving between the trees, even when the wind was still. Soft human-like sobbing far off in the woods. A tree trunk with deep claw marks that looked fresh. A torn piece of fabric stained with something dark snagged on a branch. And on the third day, he found a small circle of stones with ashes still warm inside, as though someone had camped there recently. But the campsite was silent, empty, abandoned. And the ground was disturbed by strange footprints, human-shaped but elongated, as though the toes had stretched like talons. Evan took pictures. He would later wish he hadn't.
On his fourth morning, Evan ran into someone unexpected. A girl, maybe 17, standing near the forest edge, staring into the pines as if listening to a distant voice. Her name was Leah. "I live down the road," she said. "Or used to." Her voice trembled. "My brother went missing in these woods last year. People said he ran away, but I know he didn't." Evan asked what she thought happened. Leah stared at the forest. "There's something out there. It pretends, it copies, it learns. He heard it calling him." She swallowed hard. "And now, it calls me." Before Evan could respond, Harlan stormed out of the cabin. "Leah, get home, now!" She flinched like she'd been struck. "You can't keep pretending it's not real," she hissed at him. "It's getting stronger." Then she ran down the path, vanishing into the trees. Harlan's face tightened with pain and fear. But he refused to explain.
Night fell like a curtain. Thick fog rolled in, smothering the moon. And then it happened. The scream Evan would never forget. High, sharp, human, but wrong. Like a voice imitating pain rather than experiencing it. He stepped outside, camera in hand. "Hello?" Silence. The fog was so dense he could see only a few meters. He snapped a photo anyway, hoping for clarity. The flash burst, illuminating something tall in the fog. A figure. Gaunt. Hunched. Bones jutting under pale flesh. Evan gasped, but the light vanished before he could make out details. Whatever it was watching him. He backed toward the cabin. Then he heard it. "Evan!" His blood froze. That voice belonged to his father. His father had been dead for 7 years. He ran inside and slammed the door. Unable to ignore things any longer, Harlan told Evan the truth. Silas Caro, the cannibal miner, had not died in the forest. The forest had claimed him, reshaped him, made him a vessel for its hunger. "The creature that hunts here," Harlan whispered, "was once a man, but something lives inside him now, something old as the roots of Morwood. It fed on flesh, but it also fed on memory, on voices, on fear. Every person it devours," Harlan said, "it absorbs a part of them, their voice, their cries, their last words. That's how it hunts, by speaking like the dead." Evan felt sick. "How many has it taken?" Harlan stared at the floor. "A village's worth." Then he added quietly, "Including my son." That night, the scratching began again. Slow, dragging. Evan tried to ignore it. Then the whisper came. "Help me, it hurts." A girl's voice. "Leah." Evan's stomach dropped. He rushed to the window. Leah's silhouette stood outside. She was trembling, cold, bleeding. Her face pressed against the glass. "Please," she whispered. "He found me." Evan reached for the latch. Harlan's hand snapped onto his wrist. "That's not her." As if on cue, Leah's voice twisted, deepening into a growl. Her silhouette elongated, bones cracked. Her arms stretched too far. Her spine curved at an impossible angle, and her face peeled back into a monstrous, wide grin. Harlan fired his rifle. The creature vanished into the darkness. At sunrise, Evan insisted they search for the real Leah. Harlan hesitated. "It's too dangerous." But guilt aided him. They ventured into the forest, following broken branches and faint drag marks. Birds were silent, not even insects buzzed. They found her near the river, or what was left. Her body lay twisted, half consumed, eyes wide with terror. The ground around her was disturbed, as though something massive had knelt beside her. Carved into the mud beside her was a handprint, long-fingered, clawed, stretching nearly a foot. Evan fell to his knees. Harlan closed her eyes with trembling fingers. "It took her voice," he whispered, "and now it'll use it." After nightfall, it came for them again. The creature slammed against the cabin door, snarling, speaking in a mix of voices. "Let me in, please. Dad! Evan, help!" Harlan yelled, "To the cellar!" They sprinted across the hallway, but Evan tripped on a loose board.
He crashed through it and fell into the hidden cellar below. The door above slammed shut. He landed on cold dirt. Something cracked beneath him. He looked down. A human rib cage. The cellar was enormous, much larger than the cabin above. Bones covered the ground in layers, some old and yellowed, some fresh. And in the center stood the monstrous table, carved with symbols and stained with blood. Harlan's son lay on it, or rather, what remained of him. Evan gagged. Then he heard breathing behind him, slow, wet, hungry. He turned. Silas Caro, or what Silas had become, towered over him. Skin stretched thin over bones, jaw distended, rows of human teeth embedded along the inside of his cheeks, eyes black voids. And it spoke in a chorus of stolen voices. Evan.
Before the creature could strike, Harlan burst through the cellar door, firing his rifle into the monster's face. The creature shrieked, a sound that rattled the bones and shook dirt from the ceiling. "Run!" Harlan roared. Evan scrambled up the ladder. Harlan followed, but too slow. The creature grabbed his leg and dragged him back. "Go!" Harlan screamed. "Finish it!" The door slammed shut. Harlan's screams didn't last long. Evan fled the cabin, running blindly into the forest until his lungs burned. And then, unbelievably, he found the old mining tunnels. Silas's home. Silas's grave. Silas's shrine. The air reeked of rot. Evan stepped inside. He had no weapon, no plan, no hope. But he wasn't running anymore. Deep in the tunnel was a cavern, glowing faintly blue from fungus that pulsed like veins under skin. In the center, fused with the stone and roots, was an enormous mass, as though the forest itself had grown a heart. It beat slowly, wet, alive. Silas knelt before it, feeding on a human arm. Evan realized the truth. Silas wasn't the monster. The forest was. Silas was merely its vessel, the hunger below. As Silas turned, his jaw unhinging, the forest heart pulsed faster, preparing to consume Evan next. Evan grabbed an old lantern from the cavern floor and hurled it into the forest heart. Glass shattered, oil splashed, flames ignited. The heart shrieked, a deafening, inhuman wail that shook the cavern. Silas lunged, but the fire spread faster. Roots caught flame. Ceilings cracked. Rocks collapsed. Evan ran for his life as the forest heart burned behind him, the creature shrieking in rage and agony. He burst out of the tunnel moments before it caved in completely, burying Silas and the ancient heart beneath tons of stone. When dawn broke, smoke curled through the trees. The forest was silent. Finally, silent.
1 week later, Evan returned with a sheriff's team. The cabin was gone, burned to ash. The mining tunnel entrance had collapsed. All that remained was a single charred footprint in the mud. Long, elongated, still warm. And that night, as Evan drove away from Morwood for the last time, fog rolled across the road. From the forest behind him came a whisper, faint, broken, but unmistakable. Hungry. The hunger below had survived, and it remembered his name.